right, Ben, I want to go back, way back. I'm not going to read no bios or anything. If anyone wants to figure out who you are, they can go Google you. I want to go back because I want to break through your career and relate it back to what a business or an entrepreneur goes through, because I think there's a lot of comparisons. And if I would go back to, you graduate high school, you don't think you're going to play baseball. There's not a lot of offers. You pay $50 for a tryout. Like, go back to that stage. Has your dream been put on pause? Are you still dreaming of baseball? Or are you feeling lost as a human, just trying to find your pathway?
I was trying to merge a passion for sports and also something that would eventually pay the bills, something else I was interested in, right? I mean, that's kind of, I think the normal entrepreneur path, if you're talking about that, or some people's path, maybe. I think for me, I had no offers, by the way, not a few. I had zero. And so I was just like going to follow my dad and sister's pathway. They went to this Bible college, and my faith has always been very important to me. So I was like, all right, well, let me just go to a college like that and I'll figure out what I want to do. And they had some sports there, so they had some club teams and some where I could still compete. I could still get that side of, itch scratch that itch, I guess. So that was kind of going to be my plan. And then at the same time, I was highly aware of any doors that might open, right? And I wanted to walk through a door that felt like I was going to get to dive into that passion a little bit more. And really, I just thought, well, maybe I'll just get to extend it. That was my thought, is can I just extend this passion that I have for this other thing while I'm getting a degree? And it wasn't something that I considered or thought about the dream. People are like, oh man, I dreamed of being a major league player since I was a kid. I just didn't honestly think that was part of my plan or the path that I thought was even possible. I didn't know anybody that had ever experienced that. So it wasn't that I didn't think it was possible. I just didn't think it was probable for me. And so I was willing to just follow that passion a little bit further into college. And once I knew, I didn't know what I was capable of once I got the chance to follow that passion on a daily basis more and more and more, right? So like, school was still important. I was still trying to get good grades. I was still making sure, like, that was my main job, was school, technically, right? Because everybody's got to get a degree and you got to be eligible to play sports. But my real passion was the actual athletic field. So as soon as school was over, those 5 hours of the day or whatever it was in college, I was going right to practice, and I was loving that part of what I got a chance to do. And in a way, I was getting paid to do that because it was a scholarship, right? But it was a scholarship based on being able to do both of those things. So I think that for me, there are certain times for people that are passionate about something to kind of, you got to balance it out. You got to figure out, well, what is going to pay the bills? What's going to be the thing that might be what I end up doing in my job versus what I'm really passionate about doing, and I really want to do this. And I think there's some potential parallels there.
There's something I find interesting about the way that you're telling that story, because at that stage, there is no pressure. You haven't experienced any level of success in the sense of, how am I going to make money off of having a career out of this? And so you're looking at every moment, like, it's almost like you have gratitude for every moment at that stage because you have no pressure. And then instantly, like, as life goes on, the pressures just keep building on you. And same for a business owner. Like, when you open up your doors to a store or you go and create your idea, like, you're jazzed up, like everything is gratitude. And then all of a sudden money or greed or whatever else gets on top of you. And it almost erases that. Long time ago, I was definitely not as good as you. I did have the dream of being a Major League Baseball player. I want to be a baseball player that rode a motorcycle. That was like the ultimate goal. It was never going to happen. But so for me, I
tried upon that in professional sports.
For me, I was like, all right, I'll go be a sports reporter because that's going to get me into the same stage. And one of the very, very early on, I was 18 and I was in the locker room at Wrigley. I have great stories from back then. And I was doing this story on remembering your childhood because I was asking all these ball players. Jeter was probably 24 at the time when I'm doing the interview. Mm-hmm. I like, do you remember being a child? And none of them seem to want to even go back to that place. Like the ego had already like been established so strongly. If I take a business that's already established, the ego's so strong. Like go back to day one of what you were feeling. And so what I'm leading to is that foundation of you not getting the offers, you having just a love for what you were doing. How did you hold on to that for so long, and how important is that to how you live everyday life now?
Well, I think as a young person, because I had low expectations, let's call them, or I wasn't thinking like, no, this is my dream and I'm going to go achieve it. I was more like present minded, day to day, focused on like, oh, today, here's what I have to do today, and how can I be the best version of myself today. That was something I learned early on from my parents. My dad has been a pastor for as long as I can remember, all the way through high school. I mean, it started when I was in first grade or something like that, and he's still the pastor of the same church. And so for his life, it was discipline, like of daily routine, but also it was different every day because he was getting different people coming to him with different issues, and he's got to prepare a message on Sunday, but he's also got to be ready to deal with things as they come up 24/7, with a church of people, right? So I learned to live by a present-minded, thought before it was really something that Joe Madden taught me in the major leagues. I mean, it was something I realized was kind of put into me, but Joe just kind of accentuated it that much more and said, it's that much more important to do it here because everything's coming at you really quick. And I think kind of having that mindset, to go back to your question, has always been something that benefited me because it was combined with the expectation that I was going to just try to be better, just try to get better today, try to grow today. And what does that mean? I mean, it means different things at different times, right? Sometimes in my career, it meant I need to get better in this particular aspect of my game, or else our team might lose, right? If I'm a part of this game. But sometimes it just meant like, I want to get better in the tweaking of my routine to make me feel a little bit more like I'm in flow by the time the game starts, right? And so I think that mindset is something that as a young person was built without realizing it. And then it kind of, as I got more and more focused on like, this is what I can do to be great. This is the job that I'm going to do to be great. This is how I can benefit my team and how we can win championships, or I can make a lot of money in this career. Then it just meant, yeah, the stakes were a little higher. They were a little higher at that point because if you fail, it hurts a lot more. But early on, I felt the same amount of pressure early on because it was never for me about how many people were watching or how much money I was going to make or lose. It was always about, what am I capable of? What am I capable of? I don't even know what my ceiling is. I'm a high school kid. I'm going to play college. Now I have 4 years to develop potentially. Who knows? Like, why not me? Like, that was kind of my mindset, was not so much like, oh, wow, I'm so grateful for this and I'm going to make the most of it. Yes, that was part of what was built into me, but it was more like, hey, if that guy's getting drafted at this level, people are getting drafted to play professionally at this level. Like, why not me? And I was like, well, I've got to apply myself. I got to really push myself to see what I'm capable of. And it did mean sacrifice, right? There was like sacrifices in college that a lot of people weren't willing to make, that I was willing to make. But I wasn't making that sacrifice going, I'm going to make it to the major leagues. And they don't know. Everybody else is out having their parties, and I'm going to stay in the cage because I'm going to make it to the major leagues. I was literally like, I have 4 years to see what I'm capable of. Like, why not give it a shot for this amount of time? And then when it's done, and I transition to something else, great. But I've fully put myself outside of school. I've fully put myself into that passion of baseball and sports.
Do you think that's because of how you were raised? Like, is that where that comes from?
I would like to say yes, but if that was the case, then everybody would be the same way, that was raised that same way, right? I think some of it was inborn. I just had a drive, a personal drive to want to be the best version of myself. I think some of it was like, I didn't really feel like I was enough, and you talk to a lot of high achievers, right? And they will say similar things, like early on, they just needed to perform to feel like
Yeah.
they were enough. And that was me, even though my parents would never have tried to make me feel that way. My coaches weren't trying to make me feel that way. It was something I was inborn with, that I was like, I'm not going to get less than my best. I'm going to push myself and get the most that I'm capable of. And it never felt like I ever reached that or attained that. Right. So even in the major leagues, I was still like, I got to get better. Like, we won a world championship and I'm like, I got to be better. I got to see, and I think at some level, and this is part of what I write about in the book, is you're preparing for the pressure to kind of go crush it and be the best version of yourself. But there's an internal pressure that if you're not paying attention to that, you can go achieve everything you want to achieve on the outside, but you still have to deal with that like feeling of, it's still not enough. Like I need something else, right? To feel at peace in your heart. Because I think at the end of the day, everybody that I know that's achieved greatness in their career still is seeking a level of peace that doesn't come from money, doesn't come from career, doesn't come from attaining their dreams or goals. It's coming from something internal.
I think it's a really tough thing to battle through. I mean, I'll give my comparison and then a business comparison. Like for me, I hit above 300 pounds in high school. I got on the scale this morning. I'm 183. That should be a very proud moment for me.
Yeah.
You were not supposed to be a Major League Baseball player. You were. But the double-edged sword is I still get on the scale and I'm like, well, what can I do better today? How am I going to eat better today? What do I like, even though I'm there? And so like in business, you start a business, you get it growing, you make some money. You're like, wow, this is awesome. But then you're like, I got to make more money. I got to do things better. I got to get more deals, like whatever. Like the pressure just keeps on building for no reason. And so it's hard because like the double-edged sword for you is you saying like, I'm not enough, is forcing you to keep doing this, which obviously the outcome is beautiful, but it's like, I think that's the lonely part that's happening inside of most humans that most humans don't talk about.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's just assume for a second though that tension is a part of life on Earth. Okay, like there is no one that succeeds or lives a good life that doesn't experience tension. I think it's a fallacy to believe what we might see on social media, that like, wow, that life is the life that's just really going to make it all feel like it makes sense. There is a level of tension and struggle that we deal with here that I think we're always going to deal with. And that's what I would like to say is good about us always needing to stay on top of things, right? Like you got to stay on top of being the best version of yourself. Otherwise, we know if you let it go, like it will go south quickly, right? And that's the same with business. That's the same with a family or relationship. It's the same with your self-care. It's even the same with your relationship with the Lord, at least my faith. And so I think that's something where I definitely need to be able to continue pushing and preserving myself at some level. But there does come a point where if you can't give yourself grace, the tension is going to be more than you can handle. And so you have to find that balance of giving yourself grace and knowing when to rest and relax. And like I just came off of a vacation, which I haven't had much this year, but on the vacation, and I had a very busy summer, one thing to the next. And when I got on that vacation, I was like, okay, I'm going to let myself eat what I really want right now. Like instead of being super disciplined, I'm going to enjoy this vacation, relax. I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm not going to answer calls. I'm going to just do the bare minimum that I need to just keep the ball moving, because this is a part of the discipline of taking care of myself that I know if I let this go, eventually it turns into depression and anxiety. I've dealt with that a couple of times in my life and I don't want that. Right. So there is a part of knowing how to release tension and release pressure that is preparing for pressure. Right? Because you want to go crush it, and then you also have to release that pressure in a healthy way.
So I'm going to flash forward. I'll probably go backwards a little bit too, but flash forward. You write this book. Now I'm going to give you a stat, and this isn't meant as a negative. It's going to sound negative, but I'll make it positive. Here's the stat that I pulled out. The book right now is 35,000. There's 35,000 books that are outperforming your book. Now my book, there's 4 million. So there's the positive. But now I'm going to flip it. When you get into baseball, there's been 23,000-ish professional baseball players in the history of the world. And you weren't a home run hitter, but I looked this up. You are in the top 2% of all-time home run hitters, which is crazy to think about. Only 98% is out.
I didn't realize I was getting on this podcast for that very stat to be told.
I was like, I gotta pull something good.
I'm now a home run hitter. Thank you.
But the point is, like, now you're doing it again. Like, you talk about this pressure. Like, you do have pressure. You wrote a book. You do care about it. You put time and energy against it. No matter what, if you're writing, you're away from your family.
Yep.
Like, do you feel like similar pressures? Like, are you looking at it the same way, or have you given yourself permission not to?
Honestly, I think in baseball, and it would probably be similar in business, I would guess, you have to look at the numbers. You got to pay attention to the numbers, and you have to make adjustments based on the numbers. Particularly with the book, I will say it was more of a, if this goes anywhere, it didn't matter to me. It wasn't like going to be make or break my career, right? It's like, let's write a book and let's put this message out because first of all, it's an opportunity to do so. But second of all, it will clarify some of what I like to speak about and what I talk about when I go do my speaking, which is kind of more of my job, right? And the book is a way for people to connect, a way to connect with people in at times when I may just see them once, right? So it's a great chance to get the word out on what I like to talk about. But that being said, there's external pressure where I might hear from the publisher, I might hear from my PR person to be like, hey, you need to promote your book more, you need to do this more, you need to do that more. You can tend to feel that or hear that from other people. But I think at the end of the day, if you're in charge of what you really want to do and don't want to do, there's a lot of freedom in that. And it's difficult, right, when you're working for somebody else because they're telling you, hey, you're going to get paid and this is what we need you to do in order to do so, right? When you work for yourself, and I've already been paid by the publisher a little bit to write this book, right? And it's like, will I get royalties from it? Yes, like that's part of a book contract, but is that what I'm dependent upon? Like, do I need this book to do well in order for me to be able to write a second book? No, I don't. And I think when you can take those expectations and realize, you know what, I've already been blessed with the opportunity of doing what I wanted to do with the book. And now I get a chance to talk about it to you. I get a chance to talk about it to other people. It's a message I can hand to somebody. I just had a meeting this morning and I gave them one of my books and I said, hey, this is something that I wrote. He's not involved in the sports world necessarily, but he's like, oh, I'd love to read it. Love to figure out. And just those ways of getting the message out that you're passionate about is a win, right? And if I'm looking at this, like I need 10 wins to feel like I won the championship in being an author, then I'm probably not going to be satisfied. But if I can say, hey, I only need these 2 wins out of this game here, like I just need, and honestly, I did that in professional sports at times when I knew I was facing a great pitcher that I probably was not going to do that well at. Instead of going, no, I'm going to get 4 hits against this guy today, I would say, hey, a win today will be against this guy will be, I'm going to make good contact and I'm going to enact my plan up at the plate and the ball is going to go in this direction. And then I'm not trying to control the outcome. I'm literally just saying I'm controlling what I have the capability of doing. And when I do that and I focus on me and what I'm capable of, that is more of a win. And I can be more grateful that I was able to be disciplined and do that as opposed to something else. So I think that's a healthier way for me to look at this book writing process or any sort of smaller wins that aren't my career necessarily. It's like, is this a win? Yes, it's already a win. So I don't have to be looking at the stats and go, oh gosh, I need to make this do better than it's doing. I'm glad and grateful for anybody saying they read it and that it's making an impact.
There's only been 69 human beings that have won a World Series MVP. You did it 3 years before you retired. Is what you're saying, like, you gave yourself permission, like, to almost just go out there, like, be great? It's not grateful. It's you like what, like, you almost eliminated the pressure. Like, your highest professional moment for an award standpoint happens 3 years before you retire. But also in that season, and I'm going to bring this up because I was actually at the Banana Ball game where you came out on your bicycle, but you rode your bike fully uniform to Wrigley too. It's like, it's almost like you went back in these later career moments to the feeling that you had when you stepped onto the college, like you couldn't wait to get out there. That was the perception, at least to the fans. And when you're talking about the book, I feel like you're saying the same thing. It's like you're giving yourself permission just to enjoy it.
Well, yes, enjoying it is important, and also paying attention to the details, because for me, the details, like the 3 things I write about in the consistency section of the book, which I think is really great for professionals to read. And also the latter part, which is talking about mental and emotional health and resilience. And, I mean, that piece is really important for professionals as well, but particularly this central part of the book is, how do you show up clutch when you need to, right? For me, it was never about focusing on the end outcome. It had to be the details, like not the flash, not what everybody else sees, but what I know I need to focus on. And it gets really minute. There's minutia there, right? And then there's presence, which we talked about a little bit. And then the last piece is versatility, being able to like shift and change quickly. So just, you mentioned the bike and riding in uniform. That was a last second decision that ended up being very popular. And did I think, oh, I'm gonna post this and it's gonna make things go viral or whatever? At some level, my fans are really gonna love this. I was like, you know what? We just clinched the pennant. I'm not playing tomorrow. There's kids playing at a local park that will love this. What if I took my uniform home? I love The Sandlot, the movie, and I just put my uniform on and ride to the park and stop by this Little League field, take some pictures, sign autographs. What a cool feeling and experience to have. And I was focused. I was present, and I was like versatile. I was like, hey, who cares? Like, nobody does this, but I'm going to do it. Why not? Why not? And then, to think like 10 years later, I just did it at Banana Ball and fans really loved it. And it's just this, now it's part of my story. It's part of my journey as an athlete that I used to ride my bike to the field. And Wrigley just has that feeling of being, a kid. You want to be a kid, and there's this legacy of family members that have enjoyed that. So for me to do that, I think that was something that was just, it was last second, but it was like, this feels right. And in this moment, it's appropriate, even though it's kind of odd and out there. And really, it was something that now I feel like is just one of the blessings that I've gotten to experience.
I think what, at least from my standpoint, what's symbolic about it though, and I keep going back to this, it's like when we were kids, and it's a different type of pressure as a kid, but it's like the world is so beautiful. Like, it's not messed up with politics or anything else. Like, everything is just beautiful. We're not beat up. And so that moment, what it did is it gave permission to be a kid. And I think, like, obviously I think a lot about business because I'm in business and I've started a business and I am an entrepreneur. But I think about like all the a-holes that I've had to deal with. I'm like, if you could just go back to the beginning, push reset, and remember that there's a good person in there. There's someone that's having fun, someone that's not taking it too seriously, that doesn't have to say like, I'm a celebrity. I can't interact with kids. I can't be a part of the public. Like, there's something magical about that I think ends up driving when adults can go back there, it gives them a chance for a happier second half of their life,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not only is it a benefit to you as a person when you get to step back into that mode, right? But I think if you look at it from a professional standpoint, people are more and more drawn to the purity and innocence, and it's endearing to see someone step back into like, oh, I know what that feels like. Like, gosh, man, that's so fun that it's like, I want to be around that person, that joy, that level of purity and innocence that before everything was kind of corrupted in the monetization of everything, right? And I think you can do both now. I think there's enough of an audience for whatever you're selling or whatever you're doing, that it's all about relationships, as we know. Like, building healthy, good business relationships starts with building personal relationships at some level, and letting people see why you're doing what you're doing, and that there is purity and innocence to it. And I do believe that's a major selling point, but it's also something that makes you enjoy the experience that much more.
As you've had success in life, and obviously from an outside world looking at you, obviously you're dealing with your own personal things as you navigate life, but to the outside world you'd be deemed as successful. How have you, which I admire, how have you kept the ego in check? How have you kept greed in check? Is it because of your faith? Is it because of how you're raised? Is it because of the moments that happen to you in your life? Like, how do you keep all that in check?
Yeah, it's both. Part of it is the way I was raised, and I'm from a small town in Eureka. Eureka, Illinois is a place for blue collar people who care about their neighbor, right, and care about being a good person. And nobody there is trying to be a hero. They're just trying to do their job well and raise their family well, and at the end of the day, be a supportive part of the community, right? And so, but I think my faith is really the thing that keeps that as a focus all throughout my life. Like, it is easy when people are always telling you, "Oh, that's so great! Like, thank you so much for what you did to help us." It's like, I was that guy. Like, I helped be a part of that. Like, because I know what I'm like. Sitting behind my desk at home. I know what I'm like trying to mow the lawn. I know what I'm like. I just took a trip, and I just want to drive my car around the mountains, like, and stay in the back of my van. I don't need to stay in a swanky hotel. This is who I am. Is like, I realize, like, I'm just a small town kid, and I didn't deserve all the things I got. Did I work for them? Yes. And can I recognize that I was a big part of why those things were successful? Yes. But there's so much of the opportunities that we were given, and so much of the upbringing that we have, or so much of, even when you have any level of success, that you could not have done it without everybody around you. You could not have done it without God blessing you in some way with the talents and the abilities you have. Yes, you developed them, but there was something that you did not control that made this work for you. And at some level, I think we need to point up and point out to say, look at how I was blessed. That's why I was able to make good on some of these things I did. And that perspective keeps me going, hey, it's not about me. It's about what God has gifted me to do and be around. And now, like, if I can keep that perspective, then even if things go bad, it's all gravy. Like I've already been blessed far beyond what I ever deserved. And I'm going to keep working hard and keep trying to grow in whatever way. But I am satisfied. I am blessed. And if I keep that mindset, you know what's interesting is doors and opportunities keep opening. It just might not be in the way you thought it was going to open.
I think a lot about toxic relationships in the workplace. And I would imagine the same is true in sports and every church. There's toxic relationships everywhere.
Yeah.
And so for you, you have great mentality going into this. You obviously talked about being raised in the right way that for you. You have a manager that is probably the best manager that you could possibly have twice. Now you're obviously a leader in a clubhouse, and you're dealing with egos and many of millions of dollars, probably human beings that aren't willing to talk about the demons that are in their head as much because they're afraid, like, access to the ego. Like, how do you level up maybe those that are stuck in the middle in your stance? Or is that important to you because you still have to be an individual when you're playing professional sports, but like, obviously you had the right mindset. How are you trying to let that rub off on teammates to build culture without pushing it too heavily on them? you know what I'm saying?
Well, it starts with being comfortable in your own skin. I think early in my career, everybody's like, "Ugh, do I fit here? Is this something that I should be doing? Like, I don't know if I can be successful here. Look at how good they are. Can I ever be that good?" And you're kind of looking around going, "Do I belong here?" But if as soon as you realize you do, and you can get comfortable in your own skin and just being yourself, being authentic, being genuine, and also caring about the people around you, I think that's a level that you can almost notice immediately in people around you. Are they actually comfortable in their own skin? Can they sit in the discomfort of their own failures and be like, yeah, it's cool. I'll be here tomorrow working, just like everybody. And I think that's another endearing trait that I learned over time in a baseball clubhouse with a lot of egos. And here's the thing I realized about people with egos, and look, I've got one too, right? We all have it. The only question is, when is it going to come out the most? And when it's coming out for somebody and they really, really, it's the focus is them and what they need out of the situation. I look at it like this is an opportunity for me to pay attention to find the moment when they're ready to listen, because in that moment they may not be ready to listen, right? So it might be like, hey, let's work together. Let's let the ego drive whatever needs to be driven. Like if it's like, hey, this guy needs to do well in the game today. Well, he's really struggling with this or that, or he's on a kicker. And how do I pump him up? How do I remind him that I believe in you too, man? Yes, I'm right here. I'm right next to you. Like I got your back. Like it's like them needing to be validated for something they're already doing well, or believe they believe it about themselves, but there's a little question in their mind because the ego is having to try to say more or do more in order to like make them feel like that strong. So I'll first validate that and be like, hey, dude, you're awesome. Like, I mean, that's kind of toward the end of my career. I would bring a young guy along and be like, hey, here's what I think you're capable of. You may not be there yet, but we've seen flashes of it. And dude, you have the ability to do this. I think someone understanding first and foremost that you believe in them, if their ego is up there, it's like, oh, they're not trying to just knock my ego down. They're not just trying to tell me like, oh, come back down to earth. They're like recognizing I am capable of greatness. At the same time, there will come a time where they get kicked in the pants on the field, in the midst of competition. They'll lose a sale, whatever it is in the business world. There's going to come a time where they get kicked in the pants, and you've already told them you believe in them. Now it's that moment where you come back and you say, hey, I know that probably sucked, and I've experienced that too. I know what that feels like. What are you thinking about right now? What are you working on? What is something that I can help you right now with? Or is there something you want to talk about? Like just then cracking the door open to that ego a little bit and being like, hey, let's talk about this. Now that you're open, now that the door's unlocked, now you're open. Let me walk in. And if you're able to crack that code a little bit in that moment, it really takes a lot of emotional awareness to recognize if they're open or not in that situation. That's what I believe. Those scenarios don't always come every day. Yeah. But there's usually, if you have a big enough team, there's somebody on your team that the door is unlocked in that moment. And maybe all the other egos are really going and everybody's doing their job and feeling great about themselves and you're just validating them. But it's that one person that feels like they're getting kicked in the teeth a little bit. That's the moment, I believe, as a leader, that you can actually build a greater glue and help them recognize you are capable and you're gonna get your teeth kicked in at times. And that's just part of, I think that's part of the humility that I feel like you learn when you're doing something that's very difficult, because you're gonna keep getting knocked down. And how are you responding? Are you responding by just building your ego up that much more so other people recognize, no, I know what I'm doing, or are you able to be like, yeah, that was a tough one. Back to the drawing board. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to grow from this. And I'm a valuable part of this team. You can still recognize those things.
A few comments that I'm going to say. One is, It's going to sound like it's all over the place, but I'll land the plane on this.
Well, I was all over the place, so
I was watching the Cubs game last night, and the announcers were talking. PCA had two strike count. Like, he just seems more comfortable under pressure at this point in his career than he did, say, a few years ago. And I was like, that's interesting to think about, like, what infrastructure around this guy who is clearly a superstar made him become humble and look in this moment and take the pressure off and say, let me just be confident when I'm up to plate. Think about that. I think about like, what is the proudest moment that I've had in business? This is not to be egotistical. I've had success. I've made plenty of money. That doesn't make me feel as proud as if I reflect back on the moments of having conversations with people. Like, the conversation that you're talking about don't show up on a stat sheet.
That's right.
It's happening behind the scenes, because maybe one of those off the cuff conversations that you had with a teammate saved them from the pressure that they had in their brain. And then as you were talking, I'm thinking about to retire at 39. You and I are the same age. Like, boy, I would have felt really uncomfortable with that, because, like, then it becomes the unknown, which could go down a whole thing of the feeling of unknown in life and faith and everything else. But it's like all of these things together, like, the baseball doesn't overly matter. Obviously it pays the bills, but it's more so like you were able to have influence. The book gives you another channel to have influence, to just try to spread good. And so all the things that you were talking about, I think about, like, it takes off pressure. PCA seems like a good dude, like, not throwing the bat as much. And then, but that's probably built on, like, removing any toxic relationship that could exist in a clubhouse and then in your own brain.
Yeah.
I told you I was going to be all over the place, but the point is, like,
it starts that confidence, though, in a player, in a younger player, that you see him starting to come into his own this year, right? He's been amazing. It really starts with that relationship with yourself and the way that you're talking to yourself, the way you're thinking about yourself, and realizing, starting to become more self-aware and realizing, wow, I was really putting a lot of pressure on myself and externally needing this to work for myself before I knew what would make that happen, right? And so the older you get, the more I think we realize, I don't need confidence in the result as much as I need confidence in the feeling that I am doing and saying and being the right person that I need to be in this scenario. Because what you're talking about is, and just to speak about PCA a little bit, like, you're talking about a younger player who had a lot of people trying to get in his ears, right? And saying, hey, you need this, you need that, you need to do this, do that. But one thing I do know is he's got a couple of people that really have his ear, and those people are really helping him, right? And they're really helping him grow up and mature through these seasons and kind of deal with that level of, when somebody's got the media, like, right on top of them. And it's not, he's not so worried and focused on everything out there and everything working out perfectly, because he knows he's confident in his routines. He's confident in that he's capable of it, right? When he first shows up in the big leagues, there's a lot of expectation and you don't know what you're capable of. Then he starts getting confident. He knows he's capable of it last year, but then he also went through a bad swoon the second half of the year after he found his stroke, right? And then it just realizing, going through those ups and downs and having the right voices to say, hey, don't focus on everything out there. Don't focus on the result. You got to focus on your routines. You got to focus on those feels that are important to getting you into a confident place. And then ultimately, he's going to look back on this season, and I look back on my career as, like you said, it's not the stats. Who cares? I don't care about the stats anymore. What I care about is those moments. Was I in flow? The way I'm capable of being in flow. And if people are honest, it's less about the number. Of course, you want the number to do well, because that keeps you in the environment where you can try to influence those people that are also doing the same thing. But it's more about, like, a timely word given to the right person at the right time, knowing that met them right where they needed you to meet them. And later down the road, they're like, I will never forget you said this to me at that time. And that meant so much to me. Like, it's those things that I hear now that I'm like, God, like I hear things that I'm like, I don't remember saying that at all. And they remember it because it meant something to them. And that's just an indication for me that there were moments that I was staying so present and so focused on not what everybody else saw, but what I felt needed to take place in that moment. That was the right thing at the right time. And you have those conversations, like you said, behind closed doors, trying to encourage a guy. And you're like, man, all I want is a genuine, I just want a genuine good for you to go forward, that you would have the best possible scenario in career. And sometimes right now, that means you're going to be in pain. That means you're going to hurt. And that sucks in the moment. But if you can be the person that says, I know what that feels like, and I'm with you, and I want to help you, encourage you, because I know you're going to get there. Sometimes that's the thing that really is the legacy. It's not the numbers. It's not that I led this many people. It's the legacy of that moment.
Think about the delicacy of life a lot. And I always have, for whatever reason, I've thought it's going to be short. Embrace as much of this as you humanly can. So I'm thinking about the last day on earth. I doubt God's going to be like, hey, there's that MVP guy. Come on up here. It's more like, look at what you did with others that matters. At least that's my perspective. And I think us as humans, we don't think about, did we work? We wish we could have worked a little bit longer or made a little bit more money at the end. It's like you're zooming out fast and you're saying, like, here's all the people that we impacted. So I'm not asking you to put them on a cliff and say, which one are you going to save? But when you look back at your career in baseball, and even now, are you more proud of those conversations that happened and that impact that he had than numbers? And are you able to go there mentally and be like, it is cool that I'm a good person?
Let me see how I want to answer that, because I think when I get to that point in my life, and some people know when that's the day, because you can feel it coming on slowly, and sometimes you don't know because it happens so quickly. And I really don't think God is going to measure anything based on the numbers. I definitely don't think it's going to have to do with quantity. And honestly, if I'm truly honest, I don't even think it's going to be about quality. It's going to be about connection at that moment, that very moment. I'm just a big believer that it's all about a healthy connection with God, a healthy connection with yourself and with others. And the way that I look at that now is like, careers are just the whole point of a career, in my opinion, and to make money is to take care of other people. It's to work together to take care of the needs that everybody has. Everybody has basic needs. And if we can not only take care of our own and our own families, but also the community around us, then that's going to feel really good. That is a great way to live life. And it's really the only way to live life if, if you look at it from a very simple standpoint. It's, I need other people and they need me. And if we work together, like, life is going to be bearable. And it's not only going to be bearable, it's going to be enjoyable. And that's what I really want out of these relationships. But when it comes to God, I really, truly believe to have a connection with him is to be connected to the Spirit in a way that is so authentic and so genuine and so humble, in recognition that he's God and I am not a God. I am a man, and I have needs that only he knows, that are deep inside of me. I may never even mind the depths of this side of heaven. But when it comes down to it, is my hope in what I'm capable of doing for other people and for myself in this life? Or is my hope that I will be connected to a God who is perfect and pure and holy, and everything that I have tried to be imperfectly, right? We're all imperfect and we know we can't do it perfect. But if I'm connected to him, then my hope is that I'll enter, not because I'm an MVP or because I was good. I'll enter into that presence because I was connected. I was connected to him. And really at the end of the book that I just wrote, it's all about, the last chapter is about connection, healthy connection to yourself, which it starts there, because if you're toxic towards yourself, no, that's not going to lead you anywhere good. The people that you love the most in this world, others, right? And that includes people at work, your work family, right? You want to care about them almost as much as you care about your own family, right? Because you're in the trenches together trying to earn that paycheck and take care of everybody. But that final piece, and I think a lot of people miss it, is they're just searching for a connection with God that is performance based, because that's all they know. That's all the world knows, is like, oh, I got to take care of everybody else and then they'll take care of me. That's not the way God is, in my opinion. God is like, I'm going to take care of you regardless. You can't even take care of me because I'm taking care of everybody. So it's just letting God, it's just literally like letting God take care of you and giving you grace that you don't even have for yourself and that you've never maybe even felt this side of heaven. So, man, I can tell you from my own perspective, that is what I hope for and look forward to whenever that day does come. And but until then, it's a tension that we balance of, I'm going to take care of my business, I'm going to take care of myself well, I'm going to take care of everybody else around me well. And if we do that together, gosh, the sky is the limit, right? I mean, we can do some amazing, enjoyable things together this side of heaven, I believe.
Well, even if for whatever reason you don't believe in whatever, the message that you just gave, whether it's a professional sports team, like I doubt the team that finishes in first at the end of the year has anything other than what you just said. I doubt the business that grows, that becomes a unicorn brand, that takes all the messages that you just unpacked and puts it into place. I doubt the ones that get there don't have that. And so if you just take what you just said as a message of what equals greatness, then it's a win, And I think that's, unfortunately, in today's time, that again, the pressures that we put on ourselves, the pressures we put on our business, the pressures we put to make money, the pressures we put on family, like all of these things that are happening, and probably the uncomfortableness on the mental health side of talking to others about what's going on up here. Like, you feel like you're letting your own ego down by disclosing, like, I'm having a tough time. Like, if you just take that last message and cross apply it to life, I think there's plenty of value in just taking that, right?
100%. I mean, our lives are made of far more than the bottom line, and we all know it deep down. We know that it's our heart, it's our connections to people, and at the end of the day, we want to just feel like, man, I loved people well, and I was loved well by those around us. And that's the same in the business world as it is on your street, in your community. It's the same feeling. And so, you have to find a way to work with people that you don't love sometimes. And in a way you are loving them. You're loving them by working together with them for the overall good of everybody involved, right? And so you don't have to be best friends with everybody. I keep my circle pretty small of my best friends and people that I'm closest to in this world. But I like to think that I can love a lot of different people in the work world by just trying to benefit them, just trying to help them, and they're trying to help me, and we're working together. Because here's the thing I do need to say about sports versus business. I think sports are a zero-sum game. If we win, they lose. That at the end of the day, it's a zero sum. The business world does not have to be that way. I know it feels that way oftentimes. It's like, it's us or them, like they're going to survive or we're going to die. That's how Trump is, right? In the way that we think through business. And maybe at the top, maybe it is dog eat dog world. I don't know. It is kind of like that in sports. You have to win. If you don't win, if you don't succeed, you're getting fired. You're not going to be there for very long. That's how it is. But in the business world, I like to believe it can be win, win, win. Now it just matters. Like, are we going to be a big giant business or a small business? But you can still win in any of those ways. If you know that what you sell or what you do for people is benefiting them and they need it, I think there's a place for you. I think it's a win. It can be a win regardless of how big your business grows or how small it is, or whether you have big wins this year or big losses this year. It may change how many people you can take care of, but it doesn't necessarily change the impact you're making and the quality of the impact you're making. If that stays true.
Yeah, for the way that I've operated our company, yes, there's always high performers. I don't care about that. We need high performers. You need superstars. I care more about people that show up, are respectful, and do their best. Like, that's trainable. Like, you can continue to coach and mentor those folks. The ones that are like perfect all the time and think high ego, those are hard. Those are difficult to work with sometimes. And then those that show up and complain and are unwilling to give their best effort, those are really tough too. It's like the middle, there's magic in the middle. I think businesses, I think humans, when you can celebrate around that, those that have the same mentality that you have of, how do I just become a little bit better every day? How do I why am I staying in the cage to get a little bit better? Whatever is driving you forward, there's magic in that. And I think those are the people that are most moldable in both directions too. Like, that's the double-edged sword, because they can be molded in a negative direction too. And then you want to grip them and you want to give them scaffolding. And when you do that, I think in life and in business, those are the ones that get to the end and they're like, check mark, I did my best,
Well, that's the adaptability quotient, right? That's the versatility I'm talking about in chapter 6 of this book. And I think it's the thing that made me special in the sport that I played. I was not the best at anything, any certain facet of the game. But if you could say I was pretty good at something, it was like, I can shift gears pretty quickly and jump into another position and be serviceable. Every great entrepreneur has had to learn how to do that at the beginning of their business, right? Because they had to be serviceable at some level to keep things going. And that's what they just want their employees to do. After things grow to a certain time, you just want them to be like, hey, yeah, I might not be great at this, but if you need me to do it, I got you. I'll do it. I'll do it to the best of my ability and I'll figure it out. And if you had 1,000 people like that, I would take 1,000 people like that over 1,000,000 people that are just have a fixed mindset. And it comes down to that growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And that level of humility that you talked about, where, man, I just need somebody to be willing and kind of, ready to kind of, like you said, that magic in the middle. If they don't think they're the best, that's actually probably a good thing, And if they don't sit in their laurels and just be like, oh, I'm no good at all. They're just like, I just want to get better at this. You can work with that person. And that's right in the middle, right? Like, both of those that realm is the realm that is, like you said, it's magic if you find people like that.
I think those are the unicorns. I'm gonna close with this. Do you know what 517 is?
I don't think I do.
There are only 517 human beings that hit more home runs than you. That's it. 517.
Hey, that's pretty special.
See, but it comes like, look at
every time somebody else hits over, like, whatever, I had 150 home runs. Every time they pass me, I'm gonna be like, 518, 519, baby.
Yeah, but you're still in the 500 club. That's the beauty. No matter what, you're in the 500 club.
Hey,
I think the point that I'm making, though, like, whether the Hall of Fame ever calls someday, or you weren't the greatest baseball player of all time. You're not Michael Jordan. You're not Tom Brady or LeBron, if you want to go there. But consistent, showing up, doing your best effort. There's only 500-ish human beings that the most magical thing is a home run that hit more than you. And like, that's what's cool. Like, you can still be unicorns come in all shapes and sizes. The superstars, the best things in life that perception wise come from consistent showing up and doing your best. And 517, that's the magic right now,
I still can't believe you dropped that stat on me earlier about, there's only,
2%.
2%.
You're
I
in the
mean, 2%.
90. You're better than 98% of human beings that ever play baseball.
Hey, I'll take it. I will take it. Thank you very much. I never consider myself a home run hitter, but the lesson in that, I think, is that you may not think you're going to be able to do some of the greatest things, but like you said, if you just are there long enough, you'll probably experience enough of those moments that next thing you know, like I'm in that 2%. And I never would have at the time. I was never the top 10 of home run hitters in my era ever. Like ever in any season I ever played in. You name it, like college, high school, little league, nothing. Never. And then, but I played long enough and I was consistent long enough that now you drop that stat on me and here we go. I feel like a home run hitter now.
Now you can put 5 next time you do banana ball, just wear 517 on the back. And someone's like, what's that number?
That's a great idea. You know what? I might use that the next time. They'll be like, why is your number 518? Well, let me tell you.
Look, I'm grateful for this. I think time is precious. I'm grateful that you gave us this time. I'm looking forward to unpacking this. The way that we've set up FranCamp is all built around the messages in your book, because I think they're super powerful, whether you use them as humans or business or sports, whatever you use it for. So Ben, I'm grateful that you did this. Thanks for sharing some of your story with me.
It's been a fun conversation. I appreciate it.
I told you I was going to do it differently. I would try to do it differently.
I like it that way. Great, man.
Love it. For Ben, I'm Nick. Thanks for watching.